Welcome everybody to another Friday. We're certainly glad that you came. And we have John Maurer with us today to talk to us about anti-money laundering and cyber protection. This is a CE, so Morgan may be jumping in and telling you the stuff that she needs from you. I imagine that it's going to be what she always needs. So your email address, your license number, your phone number in case she doesn't have your phone number, certainly anyway, that type of stuff, and she'll clarify this at the end. So John, and I think I don't know this, John, but I would imagine you are inviting people to ask questions as you're presenting, or do you want them to type them into the chat box, or what's your preference?
I think that since we have a large group, the chat box would probably be the best way to ask questions. And so I'll try to monitor that, but if I can get some help with that as well, that'd be great.
Yes, I think Nancy Morgan and I will all be monitoring that as well.
But if someone has a question and aren't for some reason able to use the chat box, sending a message through the chat, feel free to turn on your microphone and ask. That's okay.
Okay, take it away.
All right, thank you, Doug, and appreciate you all being here this morning. So again, my name's John Maurer. I'm with Mountain Sea. I'm one of the owners of the company, along with my wife, Marlene. We've been doing this since 2005, and when we first started the business in 2005, we only did CE. And when we first started the business, like, what should we call the company? And well, I don't know. We like to go in the mountains. We like to hike and do all that kind of stuff in the mountains. And so that's what we named the company after. And it wasn't too long after we started the CE business that people were asking, well, can you also help us with, I just hired somebody. Can you help them prepare for the insurance exam? Sure, we can do that too. And so now that's actually a bigger part of our business than the CE part of it. But we do insurance CE for insurance agents, as well as helping folks pass the state insurance exam. And have a lot of fun with it. Been doing this for almost 19 years, actually 19 years this month we started the company. So today, the focus will be on anti-money laundering and cyber protection. We're going to talk about the cyber part of it first, and then do the anti-money laundering second. So this is, it's going to be 2 CE credit for Utah resident producers. And just to, so that we're clear, we can only get, it's all or nothing. So you can't, if you're in for half of the training, you can't get an hour. It's either 2 hours or no hours for the CE credits today. There will be a few questions that will pop up that you want to make sure that you get the answers to, because you'll be asked to answer the question so that you can get the CE credit. So, because there's got to be some kind of way for us to, and for Stonehill to be able to demonstrate that you were in class. And so that's a good way to do it, by answering those 3 questions correctly. There'll be multiple choice, pretty easy questions, as long as we pay attention in class. All right, let's see what else. So we're not going to really take much of a break today. We'll take probably about a 3-minute stretch break in the halfway point, just 3 minutes, just to do what you need to do. But otherwise, we won't have any break this morning. We need 50 minutes of instruction for every credit. So we'll be getting done with the training here about 11:45, 11:50, something like that. Then I'll stick around for questions after that as well. But the training actually for the 2 credits will be completed somewhere between 11:45 and 11:50. All right, anyone have any questions or concerns? Again, a great way to ask questions is in the message box, the chat box, if you have anything there. And I'll give you a moment to locate that, because it'll be a great way to ask questions or answer questions when I ask you questions. So if you can locate that, and just for the fun of it, just indicate in the message area where you're attending class from today. I'll do the same thing. I'm in St. George. All right. So we've got Ogden and Midvale and Layton and Provo and Sandy, Smithfield, Heber, Spanish Fork. Everybody able to locate the spot where you can type in messages?
I'm not able to.
All right. Let's see.
What icon do you click on here?
So down in the lower right corner, there's something that looks like a letter with lines of text on it.
Oh, I see.
That's the one.
It's
And
called
Nick, you've raised
in-call
your hand.
messages. 3 dots and then in-call messages.
Yep.
Hi.
In-call messages is what it's called.
And Nick has raised his hand. Nick, did you have a question? Oh, maybe not. Okay.
All right. Thanks everybody for doing that. If you do have any questions about how to find that message area, just let us know. Be glad to help, or somebody will be glad to help you with that. All right. So again, today's presentation is on anti-money laundering, also known as AML, and then the world of cybersecurity and cyber protection. We're going to tackle the cyber protection first, and then finish up today with the AML.
Go for it. Let's do it.
All right.
Get to it.
All right. So when it comes to cyber protection, we'll first have a little intro. We'll talk about some basics, so the cybersecurity framework, what that is, types of cyber threats, cyber insurance, the future of cybersecurity, and then have a couple question review at the end. So first thing we need to identify is what is cybercrime, and some of us already know what that is, and some of us maybe have an idea what it is, but let's look at the official definition. According to the US State Department, is cybercrime are crimes directed at computers, such as hacking, denial of service attacks. It also includes crimes involving information technology, in which information technology is an integral part of the offense, such as online fraud, identity theft, and distribution of child exploitation materials. So we can just summarize that by saying cybercrime is any kind of a crime related to computers, technology, the internet, emails, anything to do with really technology is considered a cybercrime. So it's not a very narrow focus. It's a very broad definition of crime, which anything to do with technology, really. And I'd like to just go over just a few terms, words that we should be aware of when it comes to cybercrime and cybersecurity. One is phishing. You've probably heard of phishing with the PH, and phishing is an attempt by a malicious actor to entice a victim into clicking on a link that appears to originate from a legitimate source, but actually performs a malicious action. So phishing, just like trying to catch a fish in the lake, it's trying to entice somebody, somebody to bite. And so we'll go over some examples of what that looks like, and a lot of you probably have already seen that, but we'll just reinforce that because I'm pretty cautious. I'm pretty a detailed person, and I typically like to look over things before I jump into the water. But I have been scammed on some phishing things, like, well, I'm in a hurry and see, what's this? And I click on it, and it was something bad. So we got to be careful about those. Even if we think that we are pretty good at watching out for those things, we still got to be more careful. Malware, you probably heard of that. It's any kind of software that compromises the operation of a system by performing an unauthorized function or process. And then ransomware, that's kind of a newer thing. So ransomware is a type of malware, bad software or bad other things related to computers that locks and encrypts a victim's data, files, devices, or systems, rendering them inaccessible and unusable until the attacker receives a ransom payment. So got to be aware of ransomware. That's becoming more and more of a bigger, badder thing where, and any side business can fall victim to that ransomware, where they got you and they won't release the files, they won't release your system until you pay a ransom. A big problem. Another thing that I didn't know of or didn't understand until recently, didn't know what it was until recently, is pen testing. And so that's short for pen testing is short for penetration testing. It's a securities exercise where a cybersecurity expert attempts to find and exploit vulnerabilities in a computer system. The purpose of the simulated attack is to identify any weak spots and defenses in which attackers take advantage. So there's companies, of course, now that specialize in pen testing. All right. Now, let's just take a look at some recent cybercrime examples. Now, this is coming from the FBI, the Bureau of Investigation, and I'm going to bring up some interesting things. One moment while I bring that up. All right, here we go. So, every once in a while we'll hear on the news about some big thing where some big company gets attacked and, millions of people, customers' information has been compromised. We hear about those every few months or so. But this whole idea of a cyber crime it's just about a daily thing. So here on the official website of the FBI, we can see that there's almost every day, not every day, but just about every day, there's something big that happens. So here's a situation. I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. A man is sentenced for cyber stalking and sending interstate threats to a business. A man is indicted for unauthorized computer intrusion and related violations of the Wiretap Act. An influencer pleads guilty to receiving fund fraud proceeds from romance scams. So these are just in the last couple of days that the FBI has reported on. A foreign national pleads guilty to role in cybercrime schemes involving tens of millions of dollars. The US and the UK disrupt Lockbit ransomware variant. And so the point here is just that it's almost a daily thing. These are only the big things that have happened in the last few days. But every day, a business is being attacked or people are being attacked by criminals that are trying to mess with us. So we got to be careful. It's a big, big deal. All right. So those are just some recent examples in the last few days. And now let's just get into some statistics. And I like to go to, when I'm researching something, when I'm studying something, I like to go to multiple sources. So I've got some statistics here from 3 different sources. One is Cybercrime magazine. One is getastra.com. That's a company that specializes in pen testing that we talked about. And then Varonis is a cybersecurity company. So let's take a look at what they say regarding the statistics. All right, let me bring that up. Here it is, almost. All right, so again, this is from Cybercrime magazine. So it says here, this is pretty astonishing. If it were measured as a country, cybercrime would be the third largest economy in the world. So US has the biggest economy, China has the second biggest economy, and if cybercrime were a country, it would have the third largest economy. So it's a huge, big deal. All right, so when it comes to cybercrime damage, Cybersecurity Ventures expects global cybercrime costs to grow by 15% each year over the next 3 years, reaching 8 trillion US dollars. So that's real money, $8 trillion each year. We talked about ransomware a moment ago. So ransomware is a big deal now. I'll make it a little bit bigger in case you can't see it very well. It says the cost of global cost of ransomware was predicted to be 20 billion in 2021. That's the latest statistics that they have here. This article is just a few months old, but that's the latest statistics they had there, but it keeps going up, and they're expecting it to be 265 billion in just about 7 years from now. So it says also about the ransomware is that it predicts that a business fell victim to ransomware attack every 11 seconds just a couple of years ago, and it keeps getting worse. So ransomware is a big deal. It's going to just keep getting worse is what the experts say. All right, so that was from just some tidbits from Cybercrime magazine. Another one, though, let's bring up another one. And this one is from Astra. This is the company that specializes in pen testing. According to this source, 422 million individuals worldwide were impacted by cybercrime. 800,000 complaints were registered in a couple years ago. Nearly 33 billion accounts will be breached in 2023 or last year, with these costs predicted at $8 trillion. Again, 8 trillion, that's real money. It's a big deal. All right, and I thought this was kind of interesting, kind of a graphic on cybercrime statistics for 2024. The projected cost next year is expected to be $10.5 trillion. 1.5 trillion is the amount earned by cyber criminals for cybercrime activities yearly. So it's very lucrative to be a cyber criminal if you don't get caught. The 80% of cyber crimes are phishing attacks. We'll talk more about we defined phishing a moment ago, but we'll give some examples of that. So a lot of the cyber crimes are phishing, and these are things that we can, if a person uses common sense, if a business uses common sense, these can be prevented. 2.7 billion hours were spent resolving cyber crimes, and $30 billion is the cost of crypto crime annually. They anticipate next year. 265 billion is the estimated annual cost of ransomware to victims but will be in 2031. All right, and let's just do one more source here. And this again is from Varonis, cybersecurity company. So according to this source, the average cost of a data breach was $4.5 million in 2023. So when a big company gets hacked or a little company gets hacked, if we average all that together, a data breach costs that company on average $4.5 million last year. 74% of cybersecurity breaches were caused by human error. The average time to identify a breach is 207 days, like more than a half a year. The average life cycle of a breach is 277 days from identification to containment. So it takes a long time to figure out how is it happening? How do we fix it? How do we contain it? All right, and another one, 74% of all breaches involved a human element. I guess that coincides with the human error up above there. And the Federal Trade Commission received more than 1.1 million reports of identity theft in 2022. So it's a big problem. We probably thought it was, yeah, it's a problem. It's a big problem, but maybe we didn't know that it was a really, really, really big problem is the point of all this. All right, so now let's talk about some basics of cybersecurity, like protecting files and devices, protecting wireless networks, email authentication, vendor security, website hosting. All right, so for this, I have a government resource that I found very helpful. And I'm gonna bring that up for us. Here it is. So this source of information is coming from the Federal Trade Commission, a government entity. So the headline here is cybercriminals target companies of all sizes. Now, I'm going to full transparency here. Our company, Mountain CE, has been in business for 19 years now. And sheepishly, I'm going to tell you that we don't have cyber insurance on our company. So, you know, before I did some research to prepare for this class, and during my research for this class, I came to the conclusion that our small business, Mountain CE, needs cyber insurance because cyber criminals don't care if you're a big company, a little company. They're going to, and sometimes the little companies are the low-hanging fruit. And so my wife and I made a determination that we're going to get cyber insurance on our business as soon as we can. So here's some things about the basics of cybersecurity. What can we do as a small business? What can you do personally? And if you're those of you that are business owners, what can you do to protect yourself, protect your business, protect your employees, protect your customers, and so on? One thing is to make sure that your software is up to date, because software itself, the software that you use for your business, needs to be updated to bring in the newest security measures. This is all stuff that we know, we probably know, but maybe we don't make it a priority. We need to secure our files, back up important files offline to maybe an external hard drive, because if the cloud gets wiped out, gets compromised, you lose your information in the cloud, at least maybe if you have a hard drive that you can lock up in your office, at home, that is a good thing to do. Secure, your paper files need to be stored securely. Have them locked up in a file cabinet. Passwords are very important, of course, and be careful about where you put your. We've got so many passwords now that we have to write them down somewhere, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as we are careful. As long as we are careful about where we write them down, where we put them, and don't leave them vulnerable to people, to having people access them that shouldn't have them. We should have our devices encrypted. We should use a multi-factor authentication. So those are fancy words, multi-factor authentication. You probably heard of that. And it just is just a fancy way of saying that there should be more than one way to access sensitive accounts. You should have multiple ways to confirm that you are who you are. And so, a common way is that when you log into an account, that you not only do you have to put in a password, but also it maybe sends you a text message for you to provides you with a code to type into the computer to be able to access the account. That's a simple, common way to do it. There's other ways to do it. There's ways where you have like a token, a device, a physical device that provides you with the code to put into the computer, or a button to push on that device. In other words, you can only get into the account if you have that device. So there's different ways of accomplishing multi-factor authentication, but that's critically important for us. And again, full transparency here, I just realized that we're all busy, and there's so many things to keep track of and to do, but we're going to make it a priority in our company to make sure that all of our important accounts have multi-factor authentication. In other words, multiple ways to identify who is accessing the information. So, a lot of us small businesses have wireless networks. Make sure that your router is secure. Make sure that you have the proper encryption. And so you want to check to see if it has WPA2 or WPA3 encryption. That's important. Okay, passwords should be strong, and a lot of us have a lot of passwords to keep track of, and let's maybe just use the same password over and over again, and short as possible. But try to mix it up. Try to have different passwords. Try to have maybe some kind of a scheme there where that you maybe use a similar password, but you put some additional letters in to help you remind you of which account you're accessing into the password. Mix that into the password at least, and have long passwords. Mix it up with numbers, symbols, capital letters, lowercase letters. That's important, and some of us get lazy with that, including me, and we just need to do a better job on having secure passwords. If you're a small business owner, make sure that everybody is on board with the security measures that you have in place. Have a plan. All right, next. The next thing we're going to go over is the cybersecurity framework. So how would we describe a framework here? It's just a fancy way of saying a plan. You've got to have a plan. It might not be the very best plan in the world, but some plan is better than no plan when it comes to cybersecurity, right? Got to have some kind of a plan, even though it might not be the perfect plan. All right, so let's look at an example of a plan known as a framework. Oops. There it is. All right, so again, this is coming from the federal government. It's coming from the Federal Trade Commission. So they call this the cybersecurity framework. So it's a plan. So step number one of the plan is just to identify, take some time to identify all the equipment that you have, all the software that you use, all the data that you have. Where is the data? The laptops, the smartphones, the tablets, and so forth. So identify where the information is being accessed, where it's being stored. And then step two of the plan, the framework, is to protect. So you want to have controls over who logs into the network, who uses the computers, know exactly who can get into what, and make sure that only folks that should have access to it have access to it. Use security software to protect data, encrypt the sensitive data, conduct regular backups of the data, update security software regularly, automating these updates if possible, have formal policies for safety disposing of electronic files and old devices. And so that's a big thing, right? Because we all have devices, phones and computers, laptops that we no longer need, and then we got to get rid of them somehow. And so be careful, be careful. And so you want to make sure that you trust who is receiving it. I wouldn't, it's not just a good idea to put it in the garbage, but there are businesses that will take old devices, but make sure that they are using, that you trust them. All right. And then the third step in the plan, the framework, is detection. So monitor your computers using your computers for unauthorized personnel access. Check your network for unauthorized users or connections. Investigate any unusual activities on your network by your staff. Number 4 step is to respond. Have a plan for notifying customers, employees, and others whose data may be at risk. Keeping business operations up and running, reporting the attack to law enforcement and other authorities, investigating and containing an attack, updating your cybersecurity policy and plans with lessons learned, preparing for inadvertent events like weather emergencies that may put data at risk. And then number 5, and this is the final step in the framework, is to have a way to recover. So because it's unfortunately, it's more likely than we maybe think that we need to be aware of this. We need to have a plan to repair and restore the equipment and parts of the network that were affected, and keeping employees and customers informed of your response and recovery activities. And so when I go through this as a small business owner, I go, that all sounds great, but it seems like it's going to take a lot of time. And I don't really have that expertise to do all this stuff. And so, that's why there are companies that specialize in this stuff. And so a lot of the cyber insurance companies, all the carriers that provide cyber insurance, provide these types of resources for us as small business owners to be able to take care of these things. Because I don't know about you, but I don't have the expertise to do all this stuff on my own. And so the insurance companies, the insurance carriers, help us with this, as well as there's other companies as well that specialize in these types of things. All right, now let's go back to where we were. I gotta flip this over here, one moment. All right, so we just again talked about the cybersecurity framework, the plan, identifying, protecting, detect, respond, recover. And we need help. We need help with these things. So there are resources, companies, including insurance carriers that do provide these types of services. All right, now let's just review some of the main types of cyber threats. There's ransomware that we talked about. There's phishing. There's email imposters. There's tech support scams. as well. And, oops. Just need to find the right spot. My file ran away on me. There we go. All right, so again, the different types of threats. So one was the ransomware.
Done that.
I'm sorry. So ransomware, again, we had mentioned this earlier, is when a criminal puts some kind of malware, some ransomware software into our device, and then it looks legitimate, but with one click on a link, perhaps, it's going to maybe download an attachment, and everyone is locked out maybe of the network. You can't get to your information, your customers can't get to your information, your employees can't get to it. And so then it'll ask for money. You know, send the money, wire the money to this place. And, you know, that's a serious business. That's a serious thing that can be very stressful. It can be very costly. And so as small business, we need to take steps to prevent ransomware. And and if it does happen, even if we take all the correct measures, it still possibly could still happen. And so we need to have insurance or something in place to help prevent this, as well as to take care of it when it does happen.
John?
Yeah.
John, we have a question here. Alexius is asking, what's an example of tech support scam?
Okay. Yep. We're going to get to that in just a moment. More details on tech support scam. Appreciate the question.
Hey, John.
So, yeah, go
I
ahead.
wanted to just touch on your ransomware. Oftentimes, ransomware is used in conjunction with other things like a tech support scam. If they start leading you down the path of no return and you start thinking, oh, well, I better get out of this, oftentimes they'll lock up your computer and you won't be able to use your computer again until you pay that ransom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible. And it's and you know, again, sheepishly, I admit that I've never been really affected by this type of stuff, but I kick myself because sometimes I've clicked on things that I shouldn't have. And and I think one time I got tricked into thinking that you know, there was something wrong with my computer, and you know, call this number. Something popped up and said, you know, call this number and we'll help you. And I called it, you know, stupidly. And you know, they started asking questions, and then you know, eventually I woke up and you know, the guy that I was talking to sounded legitimate, sounded very convincing, but eventually I woke up and said, you know, this doesn't sound right. And even the best of us can fall victim to these things if we're not careful.
Well, you're not the best of it.
Yeah. The worst of us maybe can fall victim to it. But luckily, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but you know, nothing's ever horrible has happened to us personally or to our small business, but we're going to take more measures to help us with it. All right, so how can it happen? This ransomware, and as mentioned just a moment ago, it can be connected to other things like scam emails, infected websites that we might click on, server vulnerabilities. You know, where our server is located might get attacked. Online ads can also trigger this as well. All right, so that's a little bit on ransomware, and now phishing. Phishing, and there's different kinds of phishing, but you can get an email that looks like it's from someone you know, or it, you know, doesn't have to be an email from someone that you know. It could be an email that looks or kind of pretends to be legitimate, and it's trying to get you to do something, trying to get you to click on a link, trying to get you to click on an attachment that can be malicious. So just for the fun of it here, I'm going to show you some real examples of email. So this is in one of our email inboxes. Well, it's actually got put into the spam folder. And as I went to the spam folder to see if I could find some real examples of phishing emails, and I did. So like this one, the headline is "Stand Out Online, Maximize Your Reach with AI Near Me." So AI, can stand for, well, AI is artificial intelligence, but IA, that's, in this case, it's insurance agent near me. So insurance agent near me. And then it says, in the busy world of insurance sales, getting noticed online can be tough. So right there, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So insurance agents near me, it's like maybe I'm looking for an insurance agent, but then it's talking about insurance sales. The two doesn't just add up. So that's a red flag when things just doesn't like, I don't get this. So this is definitely a phishing thing. It's asking you to click on this. And if I hover over these links, it's a great big long email address that it says insuranceagentsnearme.us. What the heck is that? So this one definitely is a phishing thing. And when you look down in like where it's coming from, it's usually going to be, it's quite often they're either New York or California. I don't know why, but usually that's the way they are. So that was a phishing attack, or phishing attempt, I should say. Another one, here's another one, Costco winner. Okay, so, I was just at Costco, all right, and 36-piece Tupperware modular set, survey time. This is definitely phishing as well, trying to get me to do something. That's bogus. Whenever you got something, some company that's, well, like Amazon, Costco, Walmart, Target, winner chicken dinner, it's probably going to be phishing. Let's just talk about one more. This one. So this one was, gives a date, and it's in, day, month, year. That's not the typically way that we do dates in the US. It's usually month, day, year. So that's a red flag right there. Customer ID, that's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Dear customer, and then it's got my wife's email address. We're writing to confirm the successful processing of your recent payment. Okay, so I just bought something, and and let's say that I use PayPal, and I can see here PayPal, so maybe I should just click on it, see what it is, and that's probably going to be a bad idea to click on anything. So if we're careful, we can spot these very quickly. If we're not careful, we're not going to spot them very quickly. And sometimes they're more convincing than other times, especially if we just went to Walmart and now we get something from Walmart, or so, like a lot of people go to Walmart, and so they're going to fall victim to that, because they might fall victim to that because, hey, I was just at Walmart, I'm getting some from Walmart, I click on it, and it's not good. All right, so enough on that. We just need to be careful about phishing. And have any of you gotten these emails from like a real person that you know? Have you gotten those where it says something, something, and then, click on this link? Have you anybody gotten those? I have.
Spoofing.
Yep.
Those are spoofing.
Yeah, spoofing. It's pretending to be somebody that you know. That's another example of phishing. Somebody has taken over somebody's account or hacked in somehow, is able to impersonate a real person that you know. And so those are I think the most dangerous, when it looks like it's coming from somebody that you know, that you trust, and it's really not. Those are the worst kind, I think. All right, so got to be careful about spoofing, about phishing. And let's go down now to email imposters. That's similar to what we were just talking about. Same thing. And then let's talk about the tech support scams. So this, the tech support scam, this is what I was telling you about. This happened a few years ago, that I was telling you about, when somebody tricked me into calling a number, and eventually I figured out, before damage was done, that it was a scam. But you get a phone call from somebody. Those are, we get lots and lots of phone calls. Something pops up on your computer or email telling you that there's a problem with your computer. Click here or call this number and we'll help you. That's simply what we mean by a tech support scam. Somebody pretending, or the computer is pretending to be able to identify a problem, and we're the knight in shining armor that's going to fix the problem for you. That's a tech support scam. And they could pretend to be from like Microsoft or Google, some company that they're impersonating to be representing, but they're really not. They're going to ask you to maybe give remote access to your computer, which lets them access all the information stored on your computer. That's bad. They might install malware. They might try to sell you software to repair services that are worthless. They may try to enroll you in a worthless computer maintenance or warranty program. They might ask for credit card information. They may direct you to websites and ask you to enter a credit card, bank account, and so on. So that's the tech support scams that we have to be aware of.
Oftentimes, they will say that you purchased something and they want to verify the purchase. And then when you say, no, I didn't purchase that, then they get into what's called a refund scam, where they try to refund you, and that can get really nasty.
Yeah. Yep. So I think, the most important thing is that we need to just keep it back in the back of our mind constantly, that trust no one unless you know for sure that you can trust that person. The email, always be on guard, always be on the lookout, because it can sneak up on and bite us really, really bad. All right, now let's go back. So we talked about ransomware and phishing and email imposters and the tech support scams. And now let's talk about insurance, because just like we need all kinds of other types of insurance, in my opinion, every business owner should have cyber insurance. And I'm not saying that because I don't sell cyber insurance. But I'm going to buy it because we need it for our business, even though we're small potatoes. We're a very small business. And so just some things about cyber insurance is that the cyber insurance companies, if you ever talk to somebody trying to sell you cyber insurance, they might use this term that they underwrite like an adversary. In other words, they try to put themselves in the shoes of the bad people that are doing the cyber crimes. They underwrite as if they are trying, they're trying to to imitate or trying to think like the criminal, and then trying to mitigate, to prevent, to mitigate the problems. And another thing that's, I'd say different about cyber insurance is that a lot of it is more intended to be more proactive versus reactive. Like, auto insurance is mainly reactive. The insurance companies that sell auto insurance, the carriers are going to, send us emails, like maybe newsletters like drive safe, and make sure you have your tires fixed, your tires got to have good tires, winter's coming, got to have snow tires maybe. But most of property and casualty insurance is reactive. Somebody has a claim, they pay the claim. But with cyber insurance, there's a lot more focus on being proactive. The insurance carriers, if somebody buys cyber insurance, the insurance carriers are going to help the insured, help the customer that's buying the insurance to have a more safe and secure environment. And so there's more emphasis on preventing claims versus paying claims when it comes to cyber insurance. And then when it comes to cyber insurance, there's two main types of insurance, just like insurance on your car and your home. There's first-party coverage and there's third-party coverage. And most of you probably are familiar with the difference, but maybe not everybody. First-party coverage is going to cover the cost that the business incurs. And so we'll talk about some examples like that, just like, if your house burns down and the insurance company pays to rebuild your house, that's first-party coverage. It's covering costs of you, the insured, the first party. Third-party coverage is liability insurance. Liability insurance, also known as casualty insurance sometimes. So like example is a big company, or any kind of company, any size company, has an attack, and now customers' information is compromised. And there's maybe lawsuits, especially class action lawsuits against that company for these attacks that hurt the customers. And so it's third-party coverage is liability insurance in case a business is held negligent, responsible for customers' data, third parties' data being compromised. All right, now let's go out and take a look at some more details of cyber insurance, what it looks like. Again, we'll use this same resource from the Federal Trade Commission and talk about the different types of coverages that are available under cyber insurance. All right, so the question here is, what should your cyber insurance policy cover? It should be able to cover things like data breaches, like incidents involving theft of personal information. It should cover cyber attacks on your data held by vendors and other third parties. It can cover terrorist attacks. It can cover cyber attacks like breaches of your network, and it can also provide coverage for cyber attacks that occur anywhere in the world, not only in the US. So cyber insurance will typically also defend in a lawsuit, just like, if I get in a car accident and it's my fault and I hurt somebody and I'm being sued for lots of money. I could hire my own attorney if I want to, but I don't have to because my auto insurance comes with the duty to defend. It's going to, the insurance companies that is covering my accident that I caused is going to have attorneys on my side of my side, trying to negotiate a settlement, trying to figure out how to handle the claim. Same thing with cyber insurance. Most cyber insurance policies will come with the duty to defend. Liability insurance with the duty to defend, that's huge. That's huge. Also provide coverage in excess of any other applicable insurance you have, and also offer a breach hotline that's available every day of the year at all times. So that's, because if something looks suspicious, something looks like some data might have been compromised, the quicker, the sooner that that somebody can do something about it, the better it's going to be. And so cyber insurance typically provides those resources 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to help identify the problem, help try to figure out as quickly as possible what to do. All right, so we talked about the difference between first party and third party. So first party cyber coverage protects the data, including employee and customer information. So this is going to cover the business costs related to legal counsel to determine your notification and regulatory obligations. So this is, even though we're talking about lawyers here and legal counsel, this is still considered first party coverage here because what do? I need help. I'm not sure what to do. I need legal help to figure out what I should do next. Customer notification and call center services. So legally, if my business is attacked and my customer's information is compromised, I have a legal obligation to let the people know, let the customers know. That costs money to do that, and cyber insurance, the first party coverage, can cover that. Crisis management and public relations. So a business gets a cyber attack, it's on the news, and there's got to be crisis management, there's got to be damage control done here to help assure the public that steps are being taken to fix the problem. Forensic services, just like, when there's a crime scene, there's forensics that need to go on to investigate what happened. And so first party cyber insurance does provide those forensic services to investigate what happened. It pays also, can pay for recovery and replacement of lost or stolen data. It can pay for lost income due to business interruption. That's a huge thing. Just like when the restaurant goes out of business or the insurance agency goes out of business because of a fire temporarily, there's loss of income. And so that's going to also be the case when there's a cyber attack. The business is out of business for a while, or maybe loses income because of the cyber attack, and that loss of income can be reimbursed by cyber insurance. There's cyber extortion and fraud, and also fees, fines, and penalties related to the cyber incident can be covered by cyber insurance. That's kind of a unique thing, I think. Like, like if I get in a car accident and it's because I was speeding, and my car insurance is going to pay my fine for the speeding ticket. But with cyber insurance, just as long as it wasn't anything criminal on the part of the insured, the cyber insurance can pay for fees, fines, and penalties related to the cyber incident. All right, and so that again is the first party coverage, and there's also the third party coverage. And third party cyber coverage is going to protect for liability, in other words, negligence, when the insured is at fault or is responsible for what happened. So this is for third-party lawsuits. It's can cover payments to consumers affected by the breach, claims and settlement expenses related to disputes or lawsuits, especially those like class action lawsuits, losses related to defamation and copyright or trademark infringement, costs for litigation and responding to regulatory inquiries, other settlements, damages and judgments, and also can pay for accounting costs to clean up the mess. All right, so that's cyber insurance. There's two main parts. There's the first party coverage that we talked about. There's a third party coverage, as we talked about. But remember, again, another really important thing about the cyber insurance protection is being proactive, not just reactive. The cyber insurance carrier is going to help the business owner have security measures in place so that cyber attacks are less likely to happen.
Hey, John, we did have a question in the chat. I
Mhm.
don't know if you noticed that or not.
Yep, I just noticed the question.
Okay, perfect.
And the question is, I've had issues twice with cyber scams. Does NAIC offer coverage for brokers? If so, how do you contact them? I'll check into that for you, and I'll email that answer. Nancy, is it okay if I email the answer to you when I
Yeah,
find out
perfect.
on the answer?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. I'll make note of that right now. I haven't heard of the NAIC doing that, but I will find out for sure. All right, so everybody should be able to see my computer screen again. It should say the future of cyber insurance. If you can't see that, let me know. So let's see what a couple of sources say about the future of cyber insurance, cyber crime. And so one is going to be from the US cybersecurity.net. And it should pop up here any moment. So the headline here is 5 emerging cybersecurity trends and technologies for a future ready. So number one thing here is we're talking about AI. And you know, AI can be kind of scary. And so, you know, should we be using AI? And you know, the way I kind of look at it is like, and maybe I'll be careful here about how I phrase this. I don't want to offend anybody, but so like, you know, think about, you know, weapons, right? And some people are, you know, say we should all have a weapon, and some people say that, you know, we should, you know, get rid of weapons or control weapons, and you know, we're not going to, you know, debate that, or you know, that wouldn't be the purpose of this class. But you know, I think we'd all agree that if just good, you know, the good guys had weapons, and the bad guys didn't have weapons, you know, the world would probably be a safer place. You know, how do we accomplish that? That's another story. But it's kind of the same way with AI, I think. You know, if our industry doesn't use AI to fight cyber criminals, I think then just the bad guys are going to have AI to impose, to inflict cyber crimes upon us. So I think, you know, our industry, you know, has to use AI. The people that are, the companies that are trying to fight AI are going to have to use AI. I'm sorry, the companies that are trying to fight cybercrime are going to have to use AI to fight it. So that's one thing, is that, you know, the experts say that we got to use AI in cybersecurity to fight cybercrime. Another thing they say is blockchain. Maybe you've heard of that term. Blockchain is just a fancy way of saying that there's got to be multiple components of our computer systems. You know, the old days is that you just had one box where, you know, the information was, you know, computer system was processing information on just one machine. But now, you know, with the cloud, and it's just it's a great big matrix, I guess you could say, a great big network of computers all over the place that talk to each other. And so there's redundancy, there's backups, and there's multiple places in place, so that if one box somewhere gets attacked, the computer system can keep going on because there's redundancy, there's information that can be processed other places. You're not just relying on one place. So that's kind of a oversimplified explanation of blockchain. And we have to rely more and more on blockchain. And then another thing is zero trust architecture. It's a security model that eliminates the concept of trust from an organization's network. In essence, it operates under the principle of never trust, always verify, providing a more rigorous approach to security critical assets. So, and that's, whenever we get an email, we have to verify, not just trust, verify that it really came from that person. For example, that's just an analogy of what they mean by zero trust architecture. Quantum resistance cryptography, significant. So quantum computing, it says, while still in the early stages, poses a significant threat to traditional systems. So gotta resist quantum computing, and gotta have safer cloud. Cloud is the way to go with information, and it's great as long as it's safe and secure. So gotta have more cloud security. And we'll just share one more example or one more source of what's in it for the future. And this one is coming from Forbes. And here I just wanted to illustrate again that that most experts are talking about the AI when it comes to fighting cybercrime. It's down here. Cyber trends. So the company IDC says AI in the cybersecurity market is growing, and it will reach a market value of $46.3 billion. So AI cybersecurity is growing and growing and growing. It's going to be a business that's going to have a value, collectively, the industry is going to have a value of $46 billion in just a few years. So that's what's going to help us. AI is got to be there to help us fight the battle, is what the experts are saying. All right, so now let's just wrap up our discussion on cybersecurity before we go into anti-money laundering. So remember, you never know what questions you might get on those questions that you need to answer to get credit for the class. So here's a question. Which of the following is the best definition of phishing? I'll let you read the answers, and you can vote 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the message chat area. What you think the right answer is. Okay. All right, heard from a lot of you so far, and it's unanimous, of course. The best definition of phishing is going to be the second one. Good job, everybody. It's tricking individuals into disclosing sensitive personal information through deceptive computer-based means, like those emails that we get from Walmart that says winner, winner. That would be an example of phishing. Or when you get an email from somebody who that you trust, but it just doesn't seem like why would this person be sending me this email and asking me to click on this? This looks kind of fishy. That's phishing as well. All right, very good. Next question. Which of the following is a third-party coverage under a cyber insurance policy? 1, 2, 3, or 4.
1.
Uno?
Yeah, but that.
All right, so Some of you are getting it right and some of you are getting it wrong. So I'll tell you a hint here in just a moment.
Yeah, I'm saying.
So the question is asking about a third-party coverage. So when it comes to property and casualty insurance, in which cyber insurance is a type of property and casualty insurance. So when it comes to first-party coverage, in an insurance contract, the first party is the customer, the insured, the one who's buying the insurance or being protected by the insurance is the first party. So like you have homeowners insurance or renters insurance, right? The first party coverage on your homeowners is going to be the insurance for your home or for your stuff inside your home. That's first party coverage because the insured, the customer, is the first party. The second party in an insurance contract is the insurance company that provides the insurance. And then the third party is somebody else. So the question is asking about third party coverage. And so that is definitely going to be
Number one.
So
Okay.
network and information security liability insurance. So if it's got liability in it, that's a third party coverage. Yep, thank you. The other ones here, like cyber extortion, like if somebody, I'm the victim of a ransomware scheme, and the computer or somebody says you got to pay $10,000 or you're never getting your data back. Once you pay me $10,000, once you pay me $75,000, that's extortion. That's a first party coverage.
Yes.
Yep.
Business interruption. First party.
Yep. Business interruption, extra expense. That's also first party.
Correct.
Well, it depends on how you interpret it, right?
Well, I don't know. Liability is whenever a third party is saying, hey, you're responsible. Doug, you're responsible for my damage. You're responsible for my information being compromised. And I'm going to sue you.
But you could interpret business interruption and extra expense as implying liability, right?
No.
I would say respectfully, no. So it's just like the same thing as a restaurant. The restaurant, the pizza place has a fire, and now the pizza place can't sell the pizza. That's been a business interruption. The pizza place is going to be out of business for a month and loses $10,000 of income during the month, or $50,000 of income during the month, and gets reimbursed for that. That's a first party coverage. And then also extra expense is paying to keep the business going after an attack has happened. That's also first party. So liability is when somebody else, a third party, says, hey, you've injured me and I want money. So I'd definitely say that. Go ahead.
So that would be a business interruption, right? So, I mean, I see what you're saying and I understand what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's just that I could interpret business interruption as occurring because of liability, right? So, but I can see.
Yeah. Okay, I see your point, Doug. Usually, when in sometimes business interruption is called loss of income or business income coverage. So business interruption is more related to loss of income because the business can't be in business. So that's how business interruption is defined. It's when the business loses money because of not being able to be in business. And that's definitely in the world of property and casualty insurance language, that would definitely be first party coverage. But I get your point that, yeah, if I get sued for $1 gazillion and that's going to put me out of business, yeah, I can see that's going to interrupt my business. But I get your point with that. But when it comes to insurance language, business interruption means loss, specifically loss of revenue because of not being able to be in business.
Got it.
Yep, thanks for the clarification there. All right, so now let's save some time for the anti-money laundering. But before we do, any final thoughts or questions on the cyber? And, I think, the big takeaway that we can come up with the cyber is that it's really a big problem, and it's expected to get worse, not better. And I think that, as small business owners, we just need to be more aware. And, just like we all need auto insurance, we need homeowners insurance, and we need insurance for our business, for liability and stuff if our stuff burns up in a fire. We also need cyber liability insurance and cyber first party coverage as well. All right, now you should be able to shift gears. We're going to shift gears and talk about anti-money laundering a little bit. So this is, instead of just reinventing the wheel here, I decided to go through some bits and pieces from one of our courses that we have available online for CE, and it's just a course called Anti-Money Laundering for Insurance Agents. And so, what's the definition of anti-money laundering, or money laundering, I should say? The definition of money laundering is just illegal activity where it's taking bad money and having it go through the wash machine and making it appear to be good money. So, like, just a simple example of money laundering would be, suppose I'm a drug dealer, illegal drug dealer, and I, get $100,000 in cash, in a suitcase filled with cash for an illegal drug deal, and then I buy an annuity with that money, and then I leave the money in the annuity for a while, and then take it out a few months later, and now that money that comes from the insurance company in the form of money coming out of annuity is now good money, because money coming from an insurance company is good, right? It's no longer drug money. So another way of saying it is, money laundering is the process of taking dirty money, assets that were generated or obtained illegally, and making it look like that money was legitimately earned.
Or acquired.
I'm sorry, say that once more. Okay. So using money laundering techniques, criminals can disguise the true source of money, can transform the illegal money to another type of asset, remove the money from its illegal origin and move it to another place, mix the legal money in with good money to make it look like it's all legitimate. Okay. And so the objective of money laundering is ultimately to get the proceeds back to the individual who generated them. Money laundering is the consequence of almost all profit generating crimes and can occur almost anywhere in the world. All right, and so back, some of you are too young to remember September 11th, 2001, but that's when there was, a big wake-up call about terrorism and the things that go along with terrorism, like money laundering. So, soon after the 9/11, the administration at the time stated that the goal is to starve the terrorists of funding and shutting down the institutions that support or facilitate terrorism. And there are three parts to terrorist financing. There's earning the assets, moving the assets, and storing the assets. So earning assets means to earn assets. Terrorists focus on profitable crimes or scams involving commodities such as smuggled cigarettes, counterfeit goods, and illicit drugs, and the use of systems as charitable organizations that collect large sums. So in order to fund terrorism, they got to have a way to make the money. And so it's usually made through illegal activity. So then once the money is earned through these illegal activities, then the money is moved. To move assets, terrorists use mechanisms that enable them to conceal or launder their assets through non-transparent trader financial transactions like charities, informal banking systems, bulk cash, and commodities such as precious stones and metals. And then the assets have to be stored. To store assets, the terrorists use commodities that are likely to maintain their value over time and are easy to buy and sell outside the formal banking system. For example, terrorists may use precious stones and metals that serve as effective forms of currency. All right, let's just, for the fun of it, do a couple of quiz questions. But before we do, I see there's some questions. So we had a comment. For liability to exist, there must be some form of negligence. Yeah, that goes back to first party, third party. And another one was, all right, so 32 years ago in Arizona, a man came in to buy life insurance with $10,000 cash. 10 days later, he changed his mind and got a refund check. Dirty money turned clean. What a lesson I learned. All right, thanks for sharing that. That's exactly what we're talking about. And as insurance agents, we got to be careful. And it really could be all kinds of insurance, really, because anybody could buy some sort of policy, maybe pay it in advance, and then change their mind, cancel the policy, get a refund. And now, bad money has turned into good money. And we have another comment, never take cash. Okay, good advice. All right, so let's see. Here's a question. According to IRS.gov, money laundering is a threat to the United States tax system in that taxable illegal source proceeds go undetected along with some taxable legal source proceeds from tax evasion schemes. That sounds true to me. That is correct. It's true. As related to money laundering, which of the following is the best description of dirty money? 1, 2, 3, or 4. All right. Yeah, so first one, revenue generated by casinos, no. Revenue generated by strip clubs or bars, no. Assets that were generated or obtained illegally is the best answer. All right, let's go on to the next one. There's different stages of money laundering. So they involve the placement, the layering, and the integration. So first stage is placement. This is when the dirty money, usually cash obtained from criminal activity, is introduced into the financial system. So this can include, but not limited to, cash-intensive businesses like car washes, strip clubs, bars, check cashing services, also shell companies, like phony companies that exist for the sole purpose of laundering money, and also legitimate financial institutions such as banks, credit unions, mutual funds, or insurance companies, other legitimate large businesses such as casinos or hotels. I do have something. Somebody is trying to get back into class. Is Mark Davis, is that a name that sounds familiar to you? Is Mark Davis, was Mark Davis in class earlier?
I
Yes.
do not know. Oh,
Yes, he was.
So we just
He
got
did-
a notification that he's trying to get back in.
I cannot see him trying to get back in.
Yeah, interesting.
I will give him a call. It's Michael Davis is who I have on the list. Or is it
Mike,
some-
yeah, Michael Davis.
Okay.
Michael Davis.
I will give him a call. Thank you.
Thanks. Let me let him know that. Oh, so Morgan will call. All right, one moment while I finish that. All right, thank you. All right, so that again is stage one, the placement. Stage two is called layering. And so that's known as, layering is, the more layers, the more complex the situation is, the more difficult it's going to be to track where the money came from and where it's going. So with layering, dirty money is disguised by moving it from place to place using various transactions and changing the money's forms. The more places or layers the money is moved to, the more difficult it is for law enforcement officials to track and follow where the money went with an audit trail. So that's stage two, layering, and stage three is integration. And so the third and final stage of money laundering is integration. This is where the laundered money enters the mainstream economy into a clean and legitimate looking form. So you got the rat with the money, with the bag of money. It goes into the layering process. It moves from here to here to here to here. And then it gets integrated back into where it goes back into the mainstream economy. It looks good. It looks legitimate. All right, let's do a couple questions. Layering can involve which of the following? So let's do this all together. So it can involve multiple transactions, multiple financial institutions, multiple accounts, different kinds of industries, multiple countries, locations, multiple asset types. Yeah, it certainly can involve all those. The third and final stage of money laundering is called what? 1, 2, 3, or 4. This is when the laundered money enters the mainstream economy in a clean, legitimate looking form. All right, so yep, the third stage, as it shows over here, is integration. Next is government controls. So our federal government has lots of ways to try to stop money laundering. So one initiative is called the FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Another one is the Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, and also the Financial Action Task Force, FATF. First one is FinCEN. It's a part of the Department of Treasury. Its mission is to enhance the integrity of financial systems by facilitating the detection and deterrence of financial crime. The second one was OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Control. And so when when an insurance agent or insurance company, for example, receives money from some type of organization, it can be checked to see if it's on the OFAC list, right? And so OFAC is a way, they have a way to say, okay, this money came from this organization. Is it on the list or not? That's the OFAC list. The FATF is Financial Action Task Force, an international policymaking and standard setting body dedicated to combating money laundering. So I think this is a little bit interesting here now, the history of laws. So back in 1970, there was the Bank Secrecy Act that established requirements for record keeping and reporting by private individuals, banks, and other financial institutions. In 1996, there was the Money Laundering Control Act. And then the USA Patriot Act was passed shortly after September 11, 2001. So USA Patriot Act is actually an acronym. It stands for, well, it's right here. It stands for, or maybe I don't have it here. It stands for Uniting and Strengthening America. That's the USA, Uniting and Strengthening America. Patriot stands for providing appropriate tools to something terrorism. So the words mean something, and it probably took a couple months for the government to come up with the name of that law, but all the letters do mean something in the USA Patriot Act. So the USA Patriot Act criminalized the financing of terrorism and augmenting the existence of the BSA framework. It prohibits the financial institutions from engaging in business with foreign shell banks, requires financial institutions to have due diligence. So including insurance companies need to have due diligence procedures and enhanced due diligence procedures for foreign correspondent and private banking accounts. All right, and it expands anti-money laundering programs. So like an example of following the USA Patriot Act is that when an insurance agent receiving money from a customer, especially like life insurance, annuities, something that's where that can be conducive to money laundering, is that the insurance agent, the insurance company should be verifying the identity of the person making the payment. And driver's license, for example, will typically suffice, but there's got to be a way of identifying the person's identity. That's part of the USA Patriot Act. Okay, so insurance companies are required by law to have a program in place. Insurance companies are required to have an AML program, are required to have, and so like what does that consist of? So insurance companies have to have an AML compliance officer who's responsible for ensuring that the program is implemented effectively. It has to have written policies, procedures, and internal controls reasonably designed to control the risks of money laundering. Has to have ongoing training of appropriate persons concerning the responsibilities on the program and independent testing to monitor and maintain an adequate program. Okay. So insurance agents are not required to have a separate anti-money laundering program, but insurance agents are required to follow the programs that the insurance companies, the carriers, have implemented. So that's summarizing that. So another part of this is reporting suspicious activity. So insurance companies and insurance agents are required by law to report suspicious activity based on information that they observe. Okay, we should be aware of dollar limits. So the threshold amount obligating an insurance company to report suspicious transactions or through the institution is at least $5,000. So anything more than $5,000, we got to do extra work to make sure that it's good money. But what about if we see transactions coming in a little bit less than 5,000, we got to be suspicious of that too, because because the anti-money launderers are smart to know that the dollar limit is 5,000. So if we just keep it under 5,000, then we can maybe go through the radar. So we got to also be careful of the ones that are a little bit less than 5,000. All right, let's do a couple of review questions on that. In addition to insurance company requirement, insurance agents are required to have separate anti-money laundering programs. True or false? Answer in the message chat area, please. Are insurance agents required to have their own anti-money laundering programs? All right, good job. Most of you said false, and that's the correct answer. So while insurance agents aren't required to have their own anti-money laundering program, the carriers do, insurance companies do, and the insurance agents have to follow the plan, have to carry out the plan of the insurance companies. At a minimum, insurance companies subject to the rule requiring anti-money laundering program must establish a program that comprises of which basic elements. Let's do this together. Number one, written policies, procedures, and internal controls reasonably designed to control the risks of that sounds true. Must have independent testing to monitor and maintain that. That sounds like that's a winner, yes. Ongoing training of appropriate persons concerning the responsibilities, that seems reasonable. And last one, an AML compliance officer is responsible for ensuring that the program is implemented effectively. That's true. All those are true. Okay, now what about insurance agent participation? So we've said several times that insurance agents don't have to have their own program, but nonetheless, insurance agents are a critical component in the piece of the puzzle to fight money laundering. So insurance agents have that close contact with the customer, and so it is plays a key role in identifying, preventing money laundering. So each insurance company that it's required to establish an AML program must integrate its agents into its anti-money laundering program, and to monitor the compliance with the program, include procedures for obtaining relevant customer-related information, and also use customer and other information obtained through agents access the AML risks presented by its business based on such factors as particular types and locations of customer served, distribution channels, and products offered. All right, so insurance companies have to have an AML program and need to consider what training is appropriate for each individual employee and agent. Some people may require no training on the program given their particular duties. Others have to have a lot of training. So insurance agents that talk to the customers, especially ones who receive money from customers, do need training. It's a requirement by federal law. Provide training that's clearly understood by its employees, agents, and others doing business. And have an AML compliance officer available to answer questions posed by employees' agents. So if you as an insurance agent ever have a question about, this doesn't seem right, or you want to talk to somebody, even if it might seem small, that the insurance carrier is going to have an AML compliance officer for you to talk to. Insurance companies periodically retrain employees and agents to ensure that they understand and can fully implement the AML program. So, of course, we need to identify red flags. The purpose of, so we need to look at the purchase of an insurance product inconsistent with the customer's needs. If it doesn't seem right, it maybe isn't right for that customer. That might be a red flag. Unusual payment methods like cash or cash equivalents, like when such a usage of cash or cash equivalents is in fact unusual, or structured monetary instruments. And then also early termination of a product, including during the free look period, especially at no cost to the customer. Right? Somebody buys a product and then shortly after says, I want a refund. A transfer of the benefit of a product to apparently unrelated third party, somebody buying an insurance policy on the life of somebody that they have no reason, no insurable interest. That's a red flag. A customer shows little concern for the investment performance of a product, but a great deal of concern for the early termination features of a product. That would be a red flag. And then some other ones, a customer is reluctant to provide identifying information when purchasing a product. Remember, I mentioned this earlier, one of the federal requirements is that we need to verify the identity of a person that's buying the product. And a customer who borrows the maximum amount available soon after purchasing the product. That's another red flag for money laundering. All right, a couple quiz questions. I'll read the question. Insurance agents typically are involved in sales operations and are therefore in direct contact with customers. As a result, the agent will often be in a critical position of knowledge as to the source of investment assets, nature of clients, and the objectives for which the insurance products are being purchased. Agents have an important role to play in preventing money laundering. True or false? This is an easy one. I think even I could get this one right. This is a true statement. Insurance agents are an integral part of the insurance industry due to their contact with customers, and therefore they are required to have a separate anti-money laundering program. True or false? We already talked about that. And of course, that is false. All right, products. So there's certain products that are more susceptible to money laundering schemes. So these are the ones that are considered to be the so-called covered products. Technically, we should all be on the lookout for any insurance product. Like even auto insurance, even health insurance, Medicare, even somebody buys a product and then wants a refund, pays up ahead of time, wants a refund, that could be a red flag. But the so-called covered products, the ones that we're mainly concerned about, is permanent life insurance policies, also annuity contracts, and then any other insurance products with cash value or investment features. Those are the ones that are most closely related to money laundering, the ones that are got to be mostly cared about. All right, and now one final question. And remember, you never know what questions you might get asked after class to prove that you were in class. So here's a question for you. Of the following, which is least likely to be a suspicious money laundering activity? Number one, a life insurance policy is assigned to an unrelated third party for no reason. All right. Number two, the client requests to surrender the cash value of a life insurance policy or annuity soon after making substantial payments into the policy or annuity. Okay. And number three, the client requests to surrender the cash value of life insurance policy or annuity after it's been in force for 15 years. Which one is the least likely to be a suspicious money laundering activity? All right, good job. Everybody's saying number three that I can tell. Yeah, so the first two, those two would be suspicious money laundering activities. The last one, no. That seems pretty normal. All right, so we've met the requirements for the 2 credits. So the CE part of it is done. I'll stay on the line in case there's any comments or questions about anything related to what we talked about, or about CE credits or exam preparation, anything related to insurance training. I'd be glad to entertain any thoughts or questions.
Well, thank you very much, John. We appreciate that.